Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. This is 77s here once again. Another video. I'm going to take a different approach this time. I've been hearing a lot of, I've been checking out a lot of videos on YouTube, and the, excuse me, the concept of the animus has come up a lot. And just wanted to give my own experience with the anima and the animus, especially given this past um excuse me, especially this past cold moon. So I'm going to write them out. Yikes. Try a different end. I guess I'm getting better with the speed of my writing. And yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and say this now. You know, as well. Um, the ENFP is my shadow. If you follow the MBTI, you very well know that. Absolutely. You know that. So, but every human has an anima and an animus. For males, it's the anima. Yeah, for men, it's the anima. And for women, it's the animus. Now, there's a lot of you know, there's a lot of different information about, the anima, animus, but I'm kind of going to give my take on my experience. My experience. um, okay, anima, animus. Okay, I'll start out by saying um, I am an INFJ. If you couldn't tell by the function stack. Um, the anima and the animus. Okay. The anima is the female psychological tendencies in a man. The animus is the female psychological tendencies in a woman. I'm sorry. The male, the animus is the male psychological tendencies. Maybe I should write that. Male tendencies. And I'm gonna try to be faster. Or I'll just do something like this. The anima is a female's energy. And I'll say the animus is a male. I'll just do these signs. Maybe that'll be better. Okay. So the anima, but since I'm a male in the mind of Jay, we're going to be talking about the the anima. The anima. So I'll go on ahead and kind of erase this because we got that, you know, male tendencies, and there's 4 different levels, just like there are for the anima. Um, but we'll get into that in another video. Like I said, for this case, we'll talk about the male or the anima inside of a male. So the first stage is Eve. And this is more your beginning stage of when you initially are discovering your anima. You could say during puberty, you know, you would say you would start to notice the anima during that stage of your life. You know, that the Eve or the beginning stage of the anima represents, you know, your basic physical, physical attraction, you know, how us men or boys were like, wow, she's hot, stuff like that. Um, when you're on a date, and you see a hot, your date is hot, there's only one thing going on in your mind. You know what I mean? So when you're young like that, so it's things like that. This is what the beginning, the first stage represents, and it's subjective throughout the course of a male's life. So second, the second stage is Helen. Second stage is Helen. Helen is more, or Helena. Helena is more when you develop more where it's not just about the physical. You start to develop, the feelings aspect of a relationship. Like basically when you get to a stage in life where you start to see that, it's not just about the physical. You start to, where you're writing love letters, where you genuinely want to write them because of those genuine deep feelings for that woman, for that girl. So, um, yeah, stuff, that sensitivity, the love, the affection, you know, genuinely wanting to hug, genuinely wanting to hug and things like that. Genuine affection. You start to develop, those types of feelings. And the third stage is Mary. And Mary represents she Mary represents the Virgin Mary. Basically, just like the Virgin Mary. She represents purity, that part of a male psyche to where they want the purest form of a woman, like her being a virgin, or something like that, or a pure that vision of a pure figure that hasn't been tainted or corrupted by the world, if you will. So, um, those are the types of things in the male psyche when it comes to Mary that, is associated with the third stage of the anima. Um, and I'm kind of going through this a little bit for the sake of time because I want to try to get this through 30 minutes, but I'm probably not. But I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. Um, but um, the last stage is Sophia. Sophia represents the mastery of the anima to where you integrate, you know, where you develop, mastery of your anima, get where you develop or master, intuition, you know, sensitivity, creativity, things, those feminine aspects of those types of things. Not anything feminine like wanting to wear dresses or heels or anything, but sensitivity, like I said, creativity, art, just creativity in general, um, and intuition. Your intuition is heightened, or you a deeper understanding into the understanding of things of the world and things of that nature. So that's the four stages, kind of in a brief nutshell of the anima. I have surpassed all four. I have reached all four. Um, if you want to watch my video on the cold moon 2024, check it out. On December 15th, the cold moon happened. And I think it's supposed to be the last the last full moon of the year. Um, but my experience during it was very profound. I had never experienced anything like that ever in my life. I mean, on the way to the destination, I was crying my eyes out. Just it's almost like I was it's like I was, how people say being honest with yourself. It's like I was honest with myself, but like times 10. Like realizations in my life, you know, where I had gotten in my life, like insane, you know, being just completely honest with myself with just tears flowing out of my eyes. It was very profound. And when I actually got to my destination, it's like I'm in awe of the moon. I couldn't take my eyes off of the moon. Couldn't take my eyes off of it. I was completely in awe of the moon. I mean, it's just supposed to be the moon. Um, I cannot tell you what it is like being fully integrated with your shadow. I mean, I am, but I mean the experience. If it's not fully integrated, and this is a disclaimer. Like I said, I've never heard anyone that explain the anima like I'm about to. Nobody. Nobody on YouTube. Everybody has such a external, grounded view of the anima, which it is not. So, and I can tell you with me, these guys play a big part in what my anima is. Big time. I mean, if you can, I'd say they've been very much heightened very much heightened. Or I'll do this, very much heightened. As what happens when you become spiritually awakened, all of these become strengthened. They all become strengthened. So, but this guy right here, and this one right here, well, mainly this one, I can tell you right now, FI becomes, well, I'll say in my experience, it is a beast within itself to deal with. It is the sheriff. It is the sheriff and guardian of this, 4,000%. So much so to where they actually switch places. They pretty much switch places. Yep, they pretty much switch places. Because FI understands the weight of the frustration of FE. And usually FI gets the short end of the stick because FI wants to do something, but it doesn't align with what everybody else wants to do. So FI's wants gets flushed down the toilet. And FI doesn't like that very much. Doesn't like that very much. So, but over time, FE gets screwed over and screwed over and screwed over until FI says, you know what, that's enough. I'm going to step in. I can't tell you enough. I can't stress enough how profound and enlightening and freeing it is when this guy takes the lead. I've said it in a previous video. The INFJ becomes this at that point. This is what happens. Also, you may have heard other nicknames for the INFJ Phoenix, such as this. I have just given you basically how the INFJ turns into the Sigma INFJ. Ooh, this is bad, but you get the idea. So, it is because over the course of an INFJ's life, this whole FE slavery thing, you know, FE getting taken advantage of, screwed over, screwed over. Like I said, FI gets to a point in an INFJ's life where it has had enough. It's just had enough. And it takes over. And that is when the INFJ turns into the INFJ Phoenix or Sigma INFJ, whichever you prefer. But back to this. So once, like I said, I've surpassed all four stages of this. I've done all four stages. So, but with, okay, let me erase all this. But my experience, like I said, it's basically on 12/15. Well, I'll say this first. Every stage during my awakening, every stage during my awakening, I have noticed all of my, I mean, that's interesting. You can say that each of these represent all four of these, or one of them. Um, so you could say, but I'll say at the beginning of my awakening, this was the first one that started waking up for me. SI. My SI started strengthening. How I noticed that? Um, I started, and it was just out of the blue. It was just out of the blue. I got a workout plan. Started walking 2 miles. Then I started with 2 days, and I started with 3 days. Then, all before I knew it, I was a month in a row, month straight, 30 days straight. 2 months straight, 3 months straight, 4 months straight, and I was like, "What is going on with me? This is not me. I've never held a workout regimen this long or anything like that." So that's, I'll say, about the first couple of months I noticed that. Then I'll say after that, my FI started waking up, and I noticed things that I would normally say yes to. My FI was like, "Wait a second, you really don't want to do that. So why are you saying you want to?" And it's almost like a it's almost like a you better not accept it or say yes, or I'm going to strangle you and put you in the dungeon. So it's almost like FI has that type of energy with FE during those situations. If you bend to their will, I'm going to lock you in a closet in the dungeon and tie you up and not let you out. So it's kind of like that. And but what the powerful thing that starts to happen is your FE starts to say, "You know what? You're right. You're right." So naturally, FE does this on its own and says, "You're right. You're right. I'll go down here and you go up here." So this is why, and like I said, you guys may have heard of this word. Like I said, this is innate. You cannot help it. This is the byproduct. Authenticity at its finest, in its purest form. Basically, FI is authenticity itself. Itself. Pretty much. So, when this FI here goes up here, it's like introverted, you got two introverted functions. So, I mean, you got NI and you got FI. And they are beasts within themselves. What happens is your Fi and Ni essentially get chained to each other. So really, it's more like your Fi is more up here. Your Fi is right here. And then there's, Fe and Ti. You get the point. You get the point. So this is pretty much what happens. Well, in my case, this is how it works with me. I can tell you that right now. My Fi is a beast within itself. Like, this is why I talk about, online a lot of INFJ YouTubers. It's their channels are adhered to SI. This right here. Their channels worship SI. For what? This. This. That's why. There's 75% censors. But of course, you know, I'm saying SI, but I mean, naturally their channels are for INFJs. But it's more of taking an INFJ's money because, like, my level of awakening, like I said, I've never heard an INFJ YouTuber talk about integrating a shadow with anybody, like, truly. And I'm sorry to break it to everyone, there is only one way, true way, and that's this way. This way. And I'm starting to think that's why I've never heard anyone experience this, the true awakening of their anima.